to come to this meeting to share. And everybody wants to know what those initials stand for behind my name. I am a certified family law specialist. That's the CFLS. And I'm a fellow in the American Academy of Matrimonial Lawyers, which is the highest level of competency of practice in family law in the country. And I've been doing this since 1970. In 1980, I was among the first group of lawyers to be certified by the California Board of Legal Specialization. I've been recertified 6 times. I've written 3 books on the subject of family law. I've taught family law on 4 university campuses, including my own alumni, the USC Gould School of Law. And I've served in the Los Angeles County Superior Court as a volunteer judge for about 25 years. I put on the road, heard cases in family law when judges were out sick and on vacation. This little short workshop is intended to empower you and expand your expertise in areas that I consider to be really significant. It's not going to be a legal talk. I'm not going to be talking about legal advice. Now, I do have the most robust divorce toolkit on the internet. If you go to the lawcollaborative.com, there's at the bottom, you have to scroll all the way to the bottom of the landing page and you'll find divorce toolkit. And there's 7 drawers. And there's 7 different tools in each drawer, 5 to 15 actually. And you can get the guidelines for child support and spousal support. You can get the financial forms required by the state of California, the templates used by the Superior Court for custody and visitation, lots of tools for clients. And I do a free 1-hour workshop once a month. And professionals are invited. From time to time, a professional will join and be a part of my seminar. It's always on the first Saturday of the month, second Saturday of the month. It's always from 10 to noon, and it's anonymous, confidential. So if you join as a professional, let me know you're on the line, because I'll invite you to share your expertise in the particular area where you assist couples in crisis. So what I put together are the top 10 tips for people going through divorce. As a trusted advisor, as a professional person, you're a gatekeeper. People come to you and say, hey, I got served papers. Hey, I went home and my furniture was all gone. Hey, I just got notice that I have to appear in court tomorrow morning. You're the people that are usually the first people to hear about what's going on with clients, customers, friends, and family. So having this little list of the top 10 tips, they're really common sense tips. And as you hear them, you're not going to be particularly surprised by them, but you don't think about them. They're not top of your mind when somebody says to you, I'm in trouble, I have to go to court, I'm going to be going through a divorce. So the first 2 tips are really surprising to most people, but they're absolutely essential. And what I recommend to people is that they write the family story that they want their children to tell their children. There is going to be a children about grandpa. There's going to be a story about grandma and grandma's divorce. And it's going to be ugly, nasty, and one-sided, or it can be a cordial, grateful story that shows some appreciation, some love, and some concern. Grandpa and grandma fell in love. They were crazy about each other. They had these amazing children together, but life got in the way. They got distracted. They got derailed. They went off in different directions, and they wound up leaving the marriage. But they never left their children. They always put their children first and foremost. So a family story that each of the parties agrees to, and it becomes the elevator pitch. Whenever anybody asks, oh, what happened? Why did you get divorced? There's a family story that becomes the story that is always the story that's heard. And the other thing is writing a mission statement. What do you want from your divorce? Setting an intention. Most people stumble into a divorce ill-prepared, unequipped, ignorant, and confused, frightened, and distracted. So helping as a professional, as a coach, which you all are, you can help people set an intention. Do you want this divorce to be ugly, or do you want it to be quiet and affordable? Do you want it to be nasty and protracted and harmful to your children, or do you want to protect and preserve your children? Would you like to keep these assets that you've spent so hard accumulating for yourselves, or do you want to give it all to lawyers and experts? It's really up to the people. One of the issues that I cover in my divorce seminar, I'm not going to do it here, are the 7 options for divorce. Most people think there's just 1 or 2 or maybe 3, but there are 7 different ways to do divorce. And it starts with doing it yourself, and it ends with litigation, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars. But there's several choices in between. People need to know what their options are. And that's on my website in the toolkit, the 7 options for divorce. So create a family story. What do you want your children to tell their children? They're going to want to know more. You should not tell children any more than they're emotionally equipped to handle. You shouldn't be telling them anything negative, and you should only be telling them as much as they need to know. We're not going to be living together. You're not losing your mother. You're not losing your father. You're not losing a parent. We're going to put you first and foremost in our concerns. You shouldn't go into detail about the reasons you're leaving each other. It's not working out. We have to live separately. Sometimes the kids know it. I've had parents tell me that when they finally got around to telling the kids already know it. And they said, thank God, it's about time, believe it or not. So it depends on the age of the children, the maturity of the children, but creating the family story, writing the mission statement. I want this divorce to be quiet. I want it to be dignified. I want it to be over with quickly. And I don't want to spend all of my savings on lawyers and experts. That's the first tip. The second tip is focus on the positive. This is so difficult. We are so naturally, as humans, inclined to leap on the negative, to jump on the negative, but it really doesn't further your ultimate long-term goal. I'm going to assume that people don't want their divorce to last forever. I'm going to assume people want their divorce over with quickly, quietly, affordably, and sometimes you have to fake it until you can make it. And just act like things are maybe not okay, but at least they're manageable, that you're working through the situation. When people ask you about it, yes, we're having some difficulties, but it's a family matter, and we're really not talking to anybody about it outside the family. Change the subject. You don't have to talk to people about this. It's not a positive situation, but you can take a more positive approach. It's difficult when we say something bad or say something negative. John Gottman is the architect of the problem-solving marital clinic at Washington University of Washington Psychology Department. And he's written a wonderful book on why marriages fail called The 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse. You should certainly read this book just to have the knowledge and the information. When you see signs, my son was a videographer. He used to video weddings, and he said, Pop, he said it was amazing. I'd take the videos back to my lab and I'd start editing the videos. I knew within 5 minutes if that marriage was going to last or not. I could just see the body movement. I could see the way they were treating each other, the expressions on their face, how they touched. He said it was just so obvious. Well, Gottman has made a science of it. He's incorporated it into a book. But one of the things that he says that's really important is try to stay as positive as you can. Yes, we're not going to stay together. Yes, we're going to be living apart, but we are putting our children first and foremost. They're our children. I don't know if any of you are parents. I have 4 kids. They're all adults. I have 5 grandkids. 3 are adults. And what I've learned about parenting, it's a life sentence. It doesn't end when they turn 18 or 20 or 25 or 50. You're always going to be mom. You're always going to be dad. You may not be husband and wife. You may not remain lovers, but you certainly can remain colleagues because you are all in probably the most
Family law specialist.
Partnership of life. Nobody's talking. Please mute your square. Thank you. That's the second tip. Stay positive as you can, as often as you can, as much as you can. It's difficult. Easy to say, much more difficult to execute, but really important. Stay on message. I think that people benefit working with a coach. Some of you are coaches. Some of you include coaching in the services that you provide. I was talking to a young woman this morning who works with athletes who are making the transition from an athletic career to a private position in business or industry. And she's coaching people all the time. And guess what? Transitions are always difficult. And that's oftentimes when divorces happen. It's interesting that divorces happen when a child dies or when a parent dies. Very difficult for marriages to succeed. And this is what we're going through right now, this pandemic. This pandemic is going to produce a lot of divorces. A psychologist I was talking to recently said the people who are really in love will become closer and more intimate, more grateful and appreciative in their relationships with their significant others. But the others, the ones that have been having problems, that there may have been some cracks in their relationship, they're going to be facing some serious challenges. The good news is that there is information available, learning new relationship skills, learning new communication skills. New communication skills? Mm-hmm. Guess what? I never see a couple going through a divorce who are masterful communicators. Are you a masterful communicator? Would you like to be more masterful in your communication skills? There's books, there's videos, there's seminars and workshops. I've been doing them for years. I've been married 58 years. My parents were divorced. My wife's parents were divorced. Couples whose parents were divorced are twice as likely to get a divorce. And how did we manage to stay together? Well, thank God I was a divorce lawyer and my wife was a marriage therapist. So we got into therapy on multiple occasions. I like to say we had 3 divorces that were never completed. We got into therapy, we got help, we worked on communication skills, we had drug problems with the teenage children. We faced all the stresses and stressors that are typical in a long marriage, but we were able to overcome them because we were both committed to making it work. I think marriages oftentimes come apart because people give up too soon. They're not willing to fight for it. And that's always a choice. The grass always looks greener on the other side of the street. But the reality is, and my wife likes to say, why trade the devil you have for the devil you don't know? So she kept this devil, thank God. So stay on message. Work with a coach. keep in mind what we've already talked about, the family story, the mission statement, staying positive. They're all interactive, but staying on message on a daily basis in all of your conversations, in all of your relationships. Think about this. This is an interesting thing. Every relationship you are in is a conversation. It's just a conversation. And it's at the level of intimacy that you choose. So whether it's child, whether it's spouse, whether it's partner, whether it's colleague, whether it's friend, family, every relationship you're in is a conversation. How can you enrich those conversations? A wonderful book, by the way, on my website, there's Ron's reading list. My grandfather told me, Ronnie, the only difference between you today and 20 years from today, which seemed like a long time when he said that, are the people you meet in the books that you read. And he was absolutely spot on. And one of the books that is top of my list is Words Can Change the Brain. Words Can Change the Brain, written by two psychologists, borrowing from cutting edge brain research on how words really do have an impact on the way we think, the way we feel, how we lead our lives, and how we conduct our relationships. And in that book, there is a technology called the collaborative conversation. And there's 12 steps that it takes you through. We don't have time to go through that here today, but if you're interested in becoming masterful in your communications with clients, with colleagues, with customers, with children, partners, family members, I highly recommend that book. Number 4, we're up to number 4. Be ready for the backlash. Some people just love hearing about divorce. Some people just love to feed the rumor mill, and they'll grill you for lurid details that they can run around and repeat. It's inevitable. You just have to be prepared to ignore it. Other people hearing about a divorce means their marriage might also be fallible, and they may be full of disapproval. Just ignore it. Have a response ready in your hip pocket that you give everybody, tell everybody. This is back to the family story. We're trying to keep this a family matter. Thank you for asking. I really appreciate your input. Change the subject. Do not discuss it. Do not go into details about it. Unless they're a part of the solution, they really are not privy to your personal information. So keep your personal information personal. Keep your private information private. Be ready for the backlash. It is going to come, but prepare for it, be ready for it, and don't be surprised by it. I'm up to number 5. Do not post on social media. There is an amazing video out on Netflix, the social media dilemma, the media dilemma. It's just frightening.
It's great.
Yeah, and it's all true. It's all true, everything that they're saying. Anything you post on social media is effectively public and can be used against you in court. And now they've changed certain activities and conduct to misdemeanors. There is a criminal statute on stalking, when you're following somebody day in and day out and disrupting their life because of your surveillance. It's the misdemeanor crime of stalking. They have now expanded that to include digital conduct, people who send 10,000 emails in a week, people that are putting nasty pictures of the other person on the internet. It's now a crime. It's a misdemeanor. And you complicate the civil matter by incurring criminal sanctions. And you can be arrested, and you can be charged, and you can be convicted, and you can be fined for criminal conduct. So stay away from the internet. For heaven's sakes, put nothing on the internet except something positive, something agreeable. Keep your postings about your business, about things that are upbeat, that are positive. So posting bad things about the other party is now a misdemeanor. It's a crime in California. Exercise extreme caution. And if you have a friend or a family member or a colleague that's even considering something like that, for heaven's sakes, take them aside, have a talk with them. Tip number 6, verbal, not written. The only writing should be your personal journal. I mentioned earlier about people stumbling into divorce, distracted, uninformed, ill-advised. They really need to learn how to focus. And keeping a daily journal can make all the difference in a world. If you're going through any kind of a crisis, this is a crisis. We're in a crisis. It's been nothing like this pandemic in our lifetime. I'm old enough to remember my grandmother talking about the Spanish flu 100 years ago. She lost a sister to the Spanish flu, and she never forgot about it. I have news for you. You're never going to forget about this. This is going to affect your life permanently in ways that you probably don't yet even realize. But keeping a journal, writing down daily your thoughts, your insights, what's happening. People going through a divorce really need to keep a written journal. What should they do next? What questions do they have? What are their concerns? A private message on social message or an email ends up in public domain and could have a terrible negative impact. Write it privately, quietly. And I say keep a written journal. I mean like a 3-ring binder, a spiral note binder, because the palest ink outlasts the best hard drive by 1,000 years. And if you write it and you keep it quietly, privately in your possession, it helps you keep focused, it helps you keep track, it helps you make a to-do list. So talk to people, but don't post anything publicly, and keep your writing all completely private. Number 7, do not talk about your divorce at work. That's a huge mistake. Not even your best friends. You'll be wise to keep your divorce out of the workplace. It can really come across as unprofessional. Airing your personal business in public, people have surprisingly different attitudes and reactions to divorces. And even worse, talking about it at work could lead to anger, could lead to upset, could lead to behavior that really you want to avoid, behavior that's unprofessional. You don't want to let everybody know what's happening in your private life. It can affect how they see you, how they regard you, and whether it's affecting your work or not, stay on the safe side. Keep everything quiet until it's final. If people know something, then they know what they know. Don't add to their database. Don't add to their information base. Say, really, where did you hear that? Oh, that's interesting. Well, it's not quite accurate, but we're trying to keep this private within the family, and it's not as bad as you're hearing. we're working on this.
Ron, real quickly, I just want to ask you, does anyone, because you're talking and I don't know, does anyone have any questions about any of these, which I'll send out, or I'll send Ron all your emails. He can send you the 10 divorce tips. Anyone have a question about what he's talking about? Or
I didn't ask you, Andrew, when I should end. How much time do I have?
you can keep going. I mean, yeah, you can talk all day, but look, if we could wrap it up maybe in 10, 15.
Perfect. I can do that. I've only got 3 left, and I'll zip through them and I'll open it up for questions. How's that sound?
I just want to make sure people get whatever they want answered. Of course,
yeah, no, I really wanted this to be interactive, and if you wave your hand at me or signal Andrew, I welcome interruptions, and I welcome questions, and I welcome feedback.
You can continue if no one's answering.
So 7 was don't bring this up at work. Keep it out of the workplace. Number 8, keep the kids out of it. To be human is to have a mother and a father. And you love your mother and you love your father, and anybody that says anything bad about either of your parents is saying something bad about you. And it is child abuse for one parent to say bad things about the other parent. It's child abuse because the child personalizes everything that parent says about the other parent. So let the children know as much as they need to know. Do not burden them with more detail than they're able to manage. And do not abuse your children by saying bad things about the other parent to the children or to any other person when the children are within hearing. And I got news for you. They may be on a tablet in the other room, but they're not listening to the tablet, and you're on the phone with a friend. They're listening to you. They want to hear what you're saying. So just do not do it. Wait till they're in bed, wait till they're asleep. Have your conversations with other people, your attorney, your therapist, whoever it is you are talking to, and those are the people you should be talking to. You should have a coach, a therapist, somebody working with you to manage the emotional agendas, which are very much a part of the process. But keep the children out of it. That's number 8. And number 9, be respectful of the children. In an age-appropriate way, discuss only those issues that affect them directly, such as, I'm going to be moving out. Your mother's going to be moving out. We're going to be separating, but you're going to see us continually, regularly, assuring them it's not their fault. Children are narcissists by nature. The job of children is survival. So it's all about them. And no matter what the cause is or what the reason is, they personalize it and think it's all their fault. So let the children know this is not your fault. We feel very badly that we're not able to stay together. We know how painful this must be for you and your sister. But the reality is, it would be more painful if we stayed together. And here's the schedule. You'll see me on Tuesday and Mom on Wednesday. And be respectful of the children, keep them informed, but avoid negativity, and certainly do say nothing bad about the other parent. And that leads right into number 10. And these are the last of the 10 tips. Observe all the rules of civility. How many of you have actually read rules of civility? Did you know that they're published, that they're public? Here's what might surprise you even more. They were created by the Attorney General for the conduct of attorneys in the state of California. And if you go to the State Bar website and you go to the professional rules of civility, they've got a whole list of how people should conduct themselves in relationships with other people. And they're perfectly applicable in every situation. Stay in the realm of civility. Maintain an open line of communication. Always show respect for the other parent, even though you're angry, even though you're upset. That other parent is the mother or the father of your children and the only one that they will ever have. There's a wonderful book by Joan Kelly, What to Tell, When to Tell, How to Tell Children. It's an absolute must read for any couple separating, going through divorce. And other books are listed on my reading list. Those are the top 10 tips. None of them were legal, if you notice. I probably left out one, and that is make sure you have a competent, skillful, compassionate, trained lawyer who emphasizes the importance of avoiding court. The worst thing you can do to your children is put them through a legal proceeding. And that doesn't come from me, that comes from the top psychologist doing child custody evaluations in the state of New Mexico. I went to a seminar some time ago, and I asked him, I said, what's the most important advice to tell parents who are facing divorce regarding their children? He said, don't do it. Do not put your children through a custody battle. It is devastating. I've had one murder. I've had 4 threats against my life and 3 suicides in my 50 years of practice. And the most horrible one was a 14-year-old girl who hung herself in her closet in Simi Valley because her parents were going through a divorce. I mean, children are devastated. Parents come to me all the time and say, oh, my kids are doing just fine. They're doing just fine. That's because, number one, they don't have the vocabulary to articulate what's going on. Or number two, they're just covering up and they're hiding it. If you want to know what the impact of divorce is on children, imagine this scenario. You're at work. You get a phone call from your children's principal, and he says, we're calling all of the parents to Lake Mead. The bus carrying your children went into the lake. We're pulling it out now, and we want the parents there to identify the bodies. That's how your children feel when they hear that the parents are getting a divorce. And it turns out psychologically, it doesn't matter what age they are. They can be 2, they can be 10, they can be 22. It makes no difference what the age is. It's just the way they express it, the way they manage it has to do with maturity and vocabulary. So those are my top 10 tips. I'm here to answer questions. You have an expert now that you can call at any time with any question, and there's no charge.
So Ron, we have a few people on. I don't know if you want to go through like Taylor or Trish, goes on to ask Ron any questions. Introduce yourself and say what you do, so Ron can get. We'll interchange emails, and so everyone knows and who everyone is, because there's a lot of good people on this call. John Musso's on. Brett. Jenny was on the line. Linda Layden. Linda, you want to say anything? Are you mute? Unmute? Nothing?
Yeah, well, thank you for your time. It was very informative. Fortunately, I don't need your services right now, but you never know how the rest of this COVID goes, but we'll see.
I see the way your wife looks at you, Brett.
I know.
She's sizing you up.
Somebody you know, somebody you love,
Yes.
somebody you care about is going to be facing this crisis in the future.
Oh, for sure. I mean, just in my own business, I see all the time, I'm asked to do work in the title insurance field of my clients are getting divorced. My clients are getting divorced, and it's coming out of the woodworks like crazy in the last month and a half, 2 months of transactions.
It's going to go up.
Yeah.
It's never going to go away, and it's going to increase in the next year.
Yeah, I think you're right. For sure. Well, thank you.
Unfortunately, yes, but we're here to help. Well, Ron, thank you. John, do you want to say anything? Tricia?
I'm good. I enjoyed I enjoyed listening to him. You know, I've been together with my wife for about 30 years now. So, you know, we've hit, you know, a lot of the milestones. And the one thing that really resonated with me was when you said, you know, you've been married for 58 years, but in that 58 years, you had, you know, basically 3 different divorces. And I kind of feel like we've had a few of those, but we're surviving. And I just think that that's important for people to know that, you know, you can go through, you know, those bumps and those bruises, but you can push through it. And that's just normal. That's normal for long-term relationships. So thank you.
Absolutely true.
Yep.
Can anyone hear me? Because I don't.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I just wanted to tell you that everything you said, because I went through a bloodbath divorce many years ago, and that marriage was 11 and a half years, and I remarried, and that marriage was almost 30 years, and my husband passed away, and it was wonderful. Anyway, everything you said, I totally agree with. And the husband did not great things, just what you said. Don't badmouth the mom, don't do this. And he thought he was like the perfect father, and I was the abusive mother. Anyway, it all came out in the wash. But the children now are, you know, total adults, and they totally resent them. They don't have much of a relationship. So everything you said, I did. I was very good as far as I didn't say anything. I was kind of a mealy mouth kind of person. I was afraid of everything. But it was okay because I was looking out for the children, that I didn't want to badmouth him, just like you said. But it all comes out in the end. They know what the right things are, the kids, when they grow up. And that's it. He has a whole new family, 3 more kids, 4 more kids, whatever. But he still sees my kids on occasion. That's it. That's all I wanted to say. So I've been through everything, and I do agree with what you talked about.
You're the voice of experience, Linda. Thank you for sharing.
Yes, definitely the voice of experience, for sure. Thank you very much.
Also one of my biggest fans. Thank you.
Yes, okay. I know. I love you. What can I tell you, Andrew? That's all I have to say. But they do need a compassionate, anyone who's going through it. I don't think it's anybody on this little gallery here, but they do need a compassionate lawyer, somebody that cares. And I'm very happy to meet you. And if I hear of anybody going through this, I certainly would give them your name, for sure.
Do I have time for one more story, Andrew?
Sure.
Yes.
I'm old enough to remember Desi and Lucy. And Desi and Lucy went through the most horrible, hostile, violent divorce you could imagine, fighting over Desilu Studios, which was the largest production studio in television at the time. And he had multiple.
What year was that, Ron?
Oh, this is back in the 70s.
Okay,
And
I'll tell you a story when you're done with this. But keep going.
Before some of you were born. And they had this horrible, horrible divorce that went on for months and months, and I think a year or 2. And finally it was over with. And 20 years went by, and I'm watching TV one night, and their daughter grows up, becomes an adult, and she starts making films, and she shows these home movies of Lucy and Desi in her swimming pool in the backyard of her home in Encino, playing with their grandchildren. Even Lucy and Desi eventually got over it. They wound up marrying somebody else, but they had these children, and then they had these grandchildren. So in the end, even Lucy and Desi were able to get over all of their angst and all of their anger and resolve their differences because of the importance of family.
The good story, what I was going to tell you is during that time in the 70s, is Desi's agent was my mom's boyfriend. Is a man named Marvin Moss.
Wow.
He had
Oh,
a
I know that name.
Small
Marvin Moss.
world.
Yeah, he was like a father for me. I mean, my mom dated him off and on for a long period of time.
Wow.
A lot of big Hollywood people, including
Wow.
Sylvester Stallone. He signed Sylvester Stallone to Rocky. That's how Rocky got made.
Huh. I'll be darned.
But I'll save up my Hollywood moments for another day.
That's so cute. So cute.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you very
everybody.
much.
Thank you, John. Thank you,
Thank you,
Taylor,
Ron.
Trisha, Linda. I don't know who else is if I'm
Thank
missing.
you.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you for having me.
Trish, we'll have to catch up. I miss you, honey. Good to see you.
Miss you too. Okay, bye.
Bye, honey. Have a good day.
You too. Bye.
Make it
Happy
a great one,
Thanksgiving,
Tim.
everyone, and we'll interchange everyone's email in case you want to touch base with Ron or anyone that was on the call.
Thanks, Tim.
To chat with anyone at any time on any subject.
Yeah, and
Thank you, Ron.
Taylor's a great person. I'm telling you, Taylor's great to know, especially John or Trisha. I mean, great financial resource, great, understands finance, investing. Really, really talented family. I'm blessed. I always surround myself around good people and they make me look better than I actually am.
Very important.
Thank you, Ron, very much. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
Thank you for that intro, Andrew. I appreciate that. You're way too humble, my man.
You have to be. You never know when you're on top. You might be on the bottom one day. You got to remember. But
Amen to that.
I am good.
Amen
I mean,
to that.
people that know me know my Margie. Margie makes me look very good. Debbie, my partners. It looks better than it is. So I have good support. I have very good
I
support.
love it.
And to Ron's thing, I always give my wife the credit because, she makes sure my head's on straight.
I was about to say, as a married man, you can never be too humble, right?
Exactly.
Everything I am or ever hope to be, I owe to my beautiful, wonderful, loving wife.
Oh, so sweet.
Well, it's good. This is a recording, Ron, so that it's recorded. It could be used.
Right?
Yeah, you
I
have to
was
say that.
listening. I was
Didn't
listening.
say that before.
Amazing.
Thank
Amazing.
you. I'm gonna jump off now. I gotta head to a meeting, but I appreciate
You're
everyone's
gonna get
time.
one, Tim.
If I don't talk to any of you, have a safe and happy holiday. Happy
Happy
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving, everybody.